Hey guys, welcome back to the Wrestling Hideout Podcast. I'm, of course, Rhys. I'm here with my co-host.
Good afternoon, everybody.
His name's Liam. I forgot to introduce him. I was hoping he'd pick it up, but he didn't. There is Liam. Now, we had a big old weekend of wrestling. There was the usual SmackDown, Collision, blah, 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 blah. But then we had NWA 75, Nights 1 and Nights 2. We had Impact Emergence, and of course the big one, AEW All In at Wembley. Arguably, according to some people, the biggest pro wrestling show in history.
Paid.
Yeah, yeah. North Korea does not count.
No, and unlike WWE, they weren't counting the ticket sellers, the laundrette, the laundry, the toilet cleaners, everything.
Yep. And
I think Tony Khan said in his press conference that it was 81,035 people had paid for a ticket, but they estimated that there was around 90,000 people in the building during the show.
which is insane. Absolutely insane.
Which so he gave the real figure and the Vince McMahon figure.
Now, we're both British boys. You've been to Wembley, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's a big place.
it's not small.
No. And I think that's what a lot of people that aren't here don't understand is Wembley isn't a small stadium. You
No,
know,
it's a 90,000 seater stadium. There isn't many of them even in the States that are that big.
right? Like there have been people like Elton John, all sorts, running Wembley Stadium. This isn't a unusual occurrence. And it's also not a two-night event because we were having a conversation just a moment ago about how people are disputing that WrestleMania will be bigger because it's a two-night event. That doesn't count.
No, but I see the idea of the 2 night event came around during the pandemic, but it's actually really good and really clever, and I'm surprised they didn't do it before.
You know what I think forced WWE to do it was the fact that Wrestle Kingdom, I believe, did it first.
Did
They made
they?
they made their Wrestle Kingdom event a night one and a night two, and I think that's where WWE picked it up from. I could be wrong because I think they were within a year of each other when it started. But yeah, New Japan does the same thing. They made their Wrestle Kingdom event a night one and a night two. Um,
I'm just reading online that some people are claiming the all-in attendance was actually 67,125. It is a Wikipedia article. I just am unsure where they've got that from.
yeah, that's a 14,000 person difference. That
I've got So if you go on the actual event, it's 81,035. If you go onto Wembley Stadium records, it's 67,000. I can't admit that AEW would publicly make such a big deal out of it being the biggest ever and saying we're not doing a WWE for them to lie about it.
yeah, it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Well, we could talk about it all in all night, but let's start with the smaller shows. So, you did not watch Impact Emergence,
No, can I just add one thing
of
for our
course.
listeners who don't know much about Wembley? The record attendance at Wembley for anything is an Adele concert at 98,000.
There you go.
Wembley officially could fit up to 100,000 people into it at full capacity when the pitch is completely covered.
Well, this thing I want to talk to you about when we get to our review because there was a lot of open space on the ground floor. What would have been on the pitch, there's a lot of empty space between the rows of seats, so you probably could have fit a lot more people in that stadium. Um, so I think next year
Fire safety reason.
yeah, but I think next year you'll be seeing them trying to break that 81,000 record. But we
Yes,
shall see.
definitely.
So Impact Emergence. I'm a big Impact guy. The show was £10 if you're subscribed to their YouTube. If you're a member to their YouTube channel, it was part of your £10 membership, and it was really, really good. Really, really
So
good.
I'm a massive Impact fan from their golden era,
Yep.
who at your suggestion has started to dab into it again, and I can say that it getting a lot better. I wouldn't say it's circa 2009, 2010 Impact, but it's definitely an improvement from the Global Force era.
Yeah, it's not Angle Joe Daniel Styles, but they've stopped relying so much on ex-WWE superstars. They're not relying on AEW stars now, and the product is really, really good. Um, the event started with a no DQ match with Cody Deaner versus Eric Young, which was amazing. I'm not a fan of either of these guys, but it was a very, very entertaining match. Um, we then had The Good Hands versus Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura, whose name I probably butchered. Just another fun match again. What Impact does so well is blend the serious aspects with the comedy, um, and they're absolutely killing it. Like they had Mike Bailey versus Alan Angels again, just another killer match. We had Deonna Purrazzo versus Trinity in the main event. It was an all-ladies main event for Impact. I'm not a fan of Trinity. I've always thought she was boring in WWE. I love Deonna Purrazzo, but the main event was just insane. And then you had the Motor City Machine Guns. You had Josh Alexander. You had Leo Rush. You had Bully Ray. You had Brian Myers. You had Moose. You had Kushida all in a 8-man tag, which just it blew out the park. Um, Honestly, if they ever put the event onto YouTube for free, I would definitely check it out. It was only like 2.5 hours of wrestling, but it's so good. And then at the end of the show, they announced that Will Ospreay is going to be at Bound for Glory.
I
So that's
like what Will Ospreay's doing. I like that he's going around the
yeah,
promotions.
yeah, and
He, he's
he's not just doing like AEW. He still does Rev Pro in the UK. He's now doing Impact, so he's not afraid to go to these smaller shows and put on a hell of a match and then just leave. Which yeah, I really dig.
from what I can recall, I know it's not the territory days, but from what I can recall, wrestlers like that actually tend to make a lot more money than the WWE wrestlers because of the fact that they've got open contracts with more than one provider and they will have a lot more control over their merchandise.
Yep.
I have been reading up that some wrestlers took large pay cuts. We're talking 500,000 plus pay cuts to sign with WWE because of the prestige, but they all of a sudden they lost control of everything.
Hmm.
With Impact, they're not going back to the operatic style. I think it was 2017 with Sue Young and Ali and all that stuff, are they? Where they're doing the huge matches with the big cinema-esque style thing.
Every so often. So in this one, you had a match between Frankie Kazarian and Eddie Edwards, two really good wrestlers, where they
Zarian is still going.
yeah. And they had a match in Killer Kowalski's school where they both trained, which was more like a cinematic-esque match. So they
Killer
are,
Kowalski, was it, you said?
yeah, they both trained by Killer Kowalski. So they had a match
Triple
in
H is
his,
mental.
yeah. So they had a match inside his school, which was kind of cinematic. So they're still kind of doing that. And Impact, it's Impact. They're always gonna do that wonky shit. Like last month, they had Bully Ray set PCO. I don't know if you've seen him, the French Canadian zombie.
Yeah.
They had Bully Ray set him on fire. So now for
I'm sure he
weeks,
enjoyed that.
yeah. So for weeks, Bully Ray has been being chased around by Frankenstein. Um, but Impact has always been really good at having that weird bollocks, but then having like a 25-minute main event that just steals the show. Um,
On the subject of Bully Ray, really, really like his work, and I think he came alive in Impact,
yes.
especially when he became Bully Ray,
Hmm.
not brother Bully or whatever it was. Um, do you know that when he went back to WWE, he lobbied Vince extremely hard to be able to keep that character, and Vince wouldn't allow it.
Yep.
Vince didn't see it. Vince, he couldn't see it. He thought that the Dudley Boys character was better. But do you think a Bully Ray would have worked in a WWE, and who do you think he'd have feuded well with?
No, I don't, because I think the Dudleys were amazing during the Attitude Era when it was a bit more gritty. But
Yes.
the Dudleys, in my opinion, best stuff was in ECW and Impact, where they could do the more nasty, horrible, heelish things. Um, Minus all the wonky stuff like the electrified steel cage in TNA. Like,
The pretend electrocution. That was
yeah,
hilarious.
where some guys just flickering the lights in the stadium.
Did you know that the Dudley Boys originally had something like 7 or 8 members? I think they had
Yeah.
like Brother Snot
Oh,
and everything.
when we're going through our ECW, you're going to meet them all. Trust me, it's going to be a blast. Big Dick Dudley, Sign Guy Dudley, Dances with Dudley, the Indian American Dudley. Like,
I
they're
also think I think Spike Dudley doesn't get enough love, and I think he was really good. He was he was a little guy, but he was actually a really good wrestler. He was another one of those wrestlers that literally wouldn't give a crap if his body was
yeah,
falling apart. He'd dive around and get hit by things.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Spike Dudley, I agree, doesn't get enough credit. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame for sure. Because yeah, he
Are the
used to
Dudleys
just.
in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think so. I
Not
don't.
in if they do put the Dudleys in the Hall of Fame, problem the problem is that they're just going to put the two, aren't they? Really.
Yeah, no chance you get Spike in. You won't get all the others because no one really knows them unless you're an ECW guy.
So I'm just going to read it. You've got Big Dick Dudley,
Yep,
Bubba Ray Dudley, Chubby Dudley, Dances with Dudley, Ugly Dudley, Devon Dudley, Sign Guy Dudley, Spike Dudley, Snot Dudley,
yep. And then they had their own personal
Casey
ring announcer.
Keebler.
Oh yeah, what a blast from the past that is.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, like Impact have been killing it. And if you look at their relation with New Japan has become really good recently. Because obviously New Japan hated Impact for what they did to Okada and all sorts. Like they've turned Okada into the psychic from the Green Hornet at one point, and he's like their main, like he's their John Cena,
Yeah. That was the typical American promotion not really knowing what to do with the Japanese superstar.
right? And now in the last 2 months in total, Impact have put on a joint show of New Japan. They had Sonada, the current IWGP heavyweight title, which is New Japan's main title. He wrestled on their show last night. He was the only person. They flew him over for that. And now Ospreay's appearing on the show. So I think the relationship between New Japan and Impact is definitely getting better, which is helping them a lot.
I'm surprised New Japan have allowed Will Ospreay to do this thing with the title, because like he is the I get confused because he claims to be the IWGP United Kingdom champion. AEW introduced him as that, but I think officially he's still recognised as the US holder, isn't he?
Yeah, I think this is a heelish tactic for him to sort of just get it over. And to be honest, the amount of matches he's done for New Japan and the fact that he has never left there since he joined, I think they probably have a lot of faith in him to keep doing his thing.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Definitely. Definitely. He's trained by the London School of Lucha Libre.
Yes, I believe that is a school run by a guy called Dean Allmark, maybe? Could be wrong.
Um, no, hang on. Based in Bethnal Green. Yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I know my British wrestling a little bit. A little bit. Um, but yeah,
I saw this company advertised in Hemel Hempstead once.
yeah, yeah, they're proper local. Proper local to us. But yeah, honestly, anyone watching who hasn't seen it, pay £10 a month, subscribe to Impact Plus on YouTube. Go watch this show. It was amazing. Like, you can even pay £10 to watch here, or you can pay £25 to watch it on Fight. So make the wise choice and watch it through YouTube. Um, it's totally worth it.
Definitely.
NWA 75.
I love the National Wrestling Alliance, the originator, the oldest wrestling company in the country.
Yep. Now
How
we had
far it's fallen since the 70s.
well, we had 2 nights of NWA 75. Did you watch the show?
Hey, I think about 3 people watched it in the entire world.
Yep. Did you watch highlights?
I did.
Did you get bored during the highlights like I did?
Did. I skipped to the
Awesome.
main event.
Awesome. Yeah. Um, NWA is such a weird promotion. It's either really young people that nobody knows, or it's old timers that people don't really care about, or ex WWE stars, and that is it. It's so hard to get into.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, it's got legacy. The belt has legacy. Um, it was until recently considered the belt in a way, because it's the belt that Terry Funk had. It's the
Yep.
belt that Ric Flair had. It's the belt that all the old territory guys won. I mean, Christian Cage held the belt, to give you a more of a recent one. But I don't think NWA really have been relevant since Black Summer, which was 1985, I think, when Vince bought Capital Wrestling.
It'd be whenever, in my opinion, whenever Crockett left. So is that like 91, 90-ish?
Yeah, 92.
Yeah, like modern day NWA. Apparently, it started really good, but I think this whole association with like Fox News and just how they seem to have a bunch of what's the nicest way of putting this?
Hillbillies.
Yeah, doesn't help them. Like you've got Tyrus, who was a Fox News correspondent, EC3 and his whole control your narrative thing, which is a whole other issue. Like,
I don't really understand Tyrus's wrestling. I don't understand his reign because he spent more time trying to be a correspondent on Fox News, as you were saying, than he did wrestling. Um, any promotion that gives Funkasaurus a world championship and any promotion that gives the guy who costed Edge 9 years of his career the championship doesn't deserve my attention.
yeah, overall, I didn't. I this had no impact on my life. Not watching this, I'm
And they
sure.
fired Jim Cornette.
Yeah, I'm sure EC3 will probably do a little bit better with the title than Tyrus did. Um, Camille looks like she should be in the WWE.
WWE does have a 5-time NWA champion as its producer and on-screen authority.
Who's that?
Adam Pearce.
Oh, I misheard the conversation. I read it the other way around, where
Oh,
NWA has
okay.
an X. Yeah, yeah, and they've got Matt Cardona.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Adam Pearce was actually a really big deal on the indie scene in the mid 2000s.
Yep.
One of the reasons a few indie fans were grumbling how when he was being chucked about by wrestlers in WWE, they're making him act like a cowardly producer, but he's actually a 5-time world champion.
Yeah, he had like some long feud with Colt Cabana for like 4 years or something over the title.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, he was a good wrestler. He's actually a good wrestler. I think he had to retire through injuries as a lot do.
yeah, I think he was also a Ring of Honor champion at some point, wasn't
I believe he was in ROH, the original Ring of Honor, for a while. I think he actually even had a tryout in WWE as a wrestler. In terms of his, no, he was never a Ring of Honor champion. He
he?
had Ultimate Pro Wrestling, NWA. He was British world. It was NWA Britain's world champion as well.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Pro Wrestling Gorilla. I've actually heard of that. I've never
Ah,
watched any.
PWG. They put their highlights on their YouTube channel, and it always looks so good. It's the booker is Excalibur from AEW.
Oh, I see.
I think he's either the booker or the commentator. But yeah, which is why they've had people like Jericho just appear for them and all sorts.
Just to sum up NWA in a nutshell, they wrestle in bingo halls in front of about 50 people.
I'm sure it has an audience somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, All In, the wrestling event that everyone probably watched this weekend. Before we break it down bit by bit, what did you think of the show overall?
I think it turned out incredibly well. And I think Tony Khan is incredibly lucky because it was very rushed.
Yes.
It was very, they announced it and then they didn't have a card up until 3 weeks before. 3 weeks before.
I mean, they didn't
A
have half
lot of
the
the matches
matches.
got a lot of the matches got changed at the last minute. I mean,
Yeah.
Christian Cage wasn't supposed to be in the coffin match. Um, I believe Brian Danielson was supposed to appear in it originally.
Yeah, he was going to be facing Kenny Omega in a singles match. There was no CM Punk until like 3 days ago.
Yes, but that was a really really good match.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I think with Wembley. So I don't know if it's common knowledge. WWE were offered Wembley. They had the option of Wembley and Cardiff.
yeah.
They could have sold both. I think like even with their fake viewership, even their fake numbers, they would have sold Wembley to the same WWE. Let's be honest.
If they would have had a card with Cena, Orton, Edge,
Yeah,
Rollins, Roman, there's no reason they couldn't have.
they went to Cardiff because for some reason, and this makes me laugh, WWE expect the city that they're in to actually pay for it.
Right? Yeah.
Because apparently they get money from the tourism, and that's actually annoyed and off-putted quite a few international cities in the past with WWE. I think it was well executed, the show. I think even though a lot of stuff was done at the last minute, it ran smoothly. Apart from one thing which we'll talk about later, it
Yep.
ran very smoothly. One slight criticism: the stage setup wasn't great, but it's not designed for wrestling. Wembley.
Yep.
I think it was much better when it got dark. The way it looked,
Yeah, especially with the
much better.
fireworks.
Yes. All I want to say is the price was so reasonable. They didn't outprice it to the point of the average person struggling with the cost of living in the UK couldn't afford a ticket.
Right.
£27 for a ticket the whole day. If I'd have gone with you and you didn't pay for me, as you usually do, the whole day would have cost me about 60 quid.
For a wrestling event.
Which is for a wrestling event. That involves the travel, that involves the beers, not purchased in Wembley Stadium because everybody knows beers in Wembley Stadium are about 13 quid.
Yep.
And the t-shirts were even reasonable, I heard. A bog standard one was about 20 quid, a nice football style one was 60. In the UK, you're going to pay 150 quid in a club shop for a football shirt.
Mm-hmm. If not
So
more.
Tony Khan didn't outprice the fans. Even on pay-per-view, you're looking at 20 quid for an AEW event.
Right.
And as Dave Meltzer said in the post scrum, UFC charged $80 or £80. I actually think it's £80, he said, for an event. And WWE, before they went to premium live events, were charging 45 to 50 for their WrestleMania.
Yep.
So
Yep.
on to you. Sorry, I went off on one there.
No. The only thing I totally agree with you about everything. The only thing to add is when you mentioned the stage, I was hoping they'd have a bit more of a fancy stage, like you know how like the old WWE pay-per-views had a special design set. I would like to have seen a special set for All In, but that's like my only
Yeah.
criticism. Um,
I
like it.
think they may do something like that next year, Rhys, because
Yep.
they've already announced it
Yep.
already. He wouldn't have announced it live on TV if it hadn't been approved, paid for, everything.
You know
They've
what?
got time to get it right. And I'm really excited as a UK wrestling fan. From what I can gather, his ongoing plan is to have All In the UK and All Out in the US
Yep.
every year. And he was saying he wants London, Chicago, because he thinks they're two brilliant cities to hold events in.
This.
And put it this way, it's public knowledge that AEW in the States, that their stadium attendance is 7 to 10,000. If they're going to Wembley once a year, doing 82,000 tickets, going to Canada and selling 20,000 tickets, they'll be all right.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And
He was even saying in the post match scrum, nothing confirmed, but it's not just going to be UK and Canada. He wants to properly go abroad,
I
like
think you'll see
properly,
it.
like
I think there'll be an
Mexico,
AEW Japan.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got
That.
a feeling that Forbidden Door the next Forbidden Door will probably be held in Japan.
Yeah. We've done the States. We've done Canada. I think it'll next be Japan.
Japan or Puerto Rico, one of the two. Puerto Rico would be easy for them, and they would get love. Say it's a safe bet, Puerto Rico, because it is the States, technically, kind of.
Yeah, it's like Hawaii. It's a bit of a ball
Yeah.
ache, but it's doable. But
One thing I'll say on that on the post on going abroad. Somebody asked Sierra a question about, you wrestled in Chile about 7 years ago, and she was like really uncomfortable with that. She was like, "Yeah, that wasn't a great time in my life. I can't remember that. I
Well,
don't remember wrestling in Chile." I was like, "Oh dear, here we go."
well, the crowd in the stadium was what the crowd for Money in the Bank and Clash at the Castle should have been. They were ravenous from the first match until the last match. Like, that crowd
The
was
the problem
insane.
the problem you've mentioned with the two WWE pay-per-views. I mean, I've been watching WWE for years, years and years and years, and they've become too. They've become too. The right word is obvious.
Yeah,
I can almost, with an 80% accuracy, tell you who's going to win the matches at the pay-per-views before it started with WWE,
yeah.
and that does affect the fans. And I'm not sure, was it Money in the Bank in the UK? Everybody wanted LA Knight to win. They put that
hmm
on first. He didn't win. It killed the crowd.
Yeah. Which is what I think AEW did really good here, is their pre-show open with MJF and Adam Cole, and the main show open with Samoa Joe and CM Punk. They didn't open with a filler match. They didn't open with a lesser match. They opened with two pretty key matches. Even the pre-show, their ROH Tag Team titles, MJF and Adam Cole is a pretty big deal. Um,
Cultaholic was saying that it's the first time that um, they've gone to a pre-show where something of relevance really happened.
yeah,
They had a title change at a pre-show. Yes, it's the Ring of Honor Championships, but you can tell Tony Khan is trying to make Ring of Honor relevant. I can imagine they may spin off eventually Ring of Honor,
yeah,
but it wasn't the best match. But I could see why they wouldn't put on a barnstormer, because if they hurt the people in the main event at the
yeah,
start would be a problem.
yeah,
But it got the crowd going. It did get the crowd going quite well. Jeff Jarrett getting hit by a guitar is always fun. I don't know if
yeah.
you saw that.
I did indeed.
I swear that guy's become that meme. That's just basically him now.
Did you see the day before Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett did a like little panel for the crowd in Wembley? Just like a little panel
Okay.
where the crowd could ask them questions. They were on the stage. You haven't seen this, have you?
No, I haven't seen this. No, I'm interested.
Oh, they had a bunch of drunk UK wrestling fans there. The Lexi Nair, the woman who does the interviews for Collision, the blonde lady, she
Yeah.
walks up to a fan. What would you like to ask Karen Jarrett? And he clears his throat and goes, Karen, who was better in bed, Jeff Jarrett or Kurt Angle?
It's exactly. I think I've had this joke with you before, haven't I? I actually had that one.
I will find the clip and send it to you. It's
You've
fucking
gone from the
amazing.
Olympic dick to King of the Mountain. I love it.
Like, it's so funny.
Thing is, the thing is, Jeff Jeff has been all over the world, and he had a hard time in Mexico when he was a heel because they
Yeah,
took it really seriously. So he
Mexico
can
does.
probably handle that. He's one of the better wrestlers to handle that.
Yeah. It's so funny that I'll send it to you because the announcer, Lexi, she's like looking in shock. It's so good. I'll send you a link. You have to watch it. It's so funny.
Did she answer?
She, she says something along the lines of, "Well, I'm sat next to one of them, aren't I?"
Oh, I
Something
like
like
that.
that. But no, I agree. This was the first thing where something important happened on the pre-show, and I wasn't expecting this. I thought the reason that they were having a tag match on the pre-show was that they were going to lose, and then that was going to be the dissension into the main event, and then they won.
I
And
wasn't
I was,
expecting the win either. I was expecting. I actually, honestly, was expecting Adam Cole to do something. I
yeah,
really was expecting.
I was expecting something, and when nothing happened, I was a little like mouth open, like that has just thrown off exactly what I think is happening in this entire event.
Yeah, def. So we'll talk about the opener of the main event, but before that, another week goes by, and another fight happens backstage involving Phil.
Yes, well,
Ironically, it's been a year exactly since it last happened,
yep, well,
August.
we can actually sandwich this in because the next match on the pre-show was Hook defeated Jack Perry for the FTW title. Um, this was a
I
throwaway.
actually forgot about Taz's baby boy. Sorry.
Yeah, like this was a throwaway match, and the reason that this was throwaway is because of what happened between this match and the start of the show, which was CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. I'll let you take away with the story.
So, so, so from the first I heard of it was somebody tweeting that 45 security have gone legging it out back.
Hmm.
And the moment I heard that was, oh no, something's happened with Phil. Because one criticism I would have is why would they put on Jack Perry, CM Punk, followed by Hangman Page, followed by the Elite? I mean, are they asking for trouble?
I texted you that during the event. I was like,
Yeah.
why are they doing this? Um,
So what's happened is during Jungle Jack Perry's match, he power bombed or DDT'd somebody onto a limousine screen and looked at the camera, went right into it, and went, "It's real glass, cry me a river," and did the cry motion to his eyes.
which is in
Um,
relation to CM Punk apparently having
it's
to
done.
talk to Jack Perry about wanting to use real glass a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So CM Punk currently, or did, probably doesn't after this, but you never know with Tony Khan, seemed to have a Hogan-esque style creative control over Collision, and quite rightly, as a veteran, was saying to Jack Perry, we're not going to use real glass on wrestling spots because you can really hurt somebody.
Hmm.
And he didn't like it, and it caused a huge scene at Collision.
Yep,
I think Punk told him to fuck off back to Dynamite or something, didn't he?
something like that. Because apparently Jack Perry didn't want to work the week after, which is a common problem in AEW. People not wanting to work certain weeks. So rumor has it that he wanted to use real glass to have a week off.
A week's vacation, yeah.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you speak to, what happened backstage.
Yep.
The prevailing, according to Wrestle Talk, What Culture, and others, Sean Ross Sapp, the prevailing is that there was an altercation. CM Punk and Jack Perry got into each other's faces. The majority of people are saying that that Jack Perry bumped into Punk. Words were exchanged, and Punk got him into a headlock to try and defuse the situation, a front face headlock, because he didn't want to have a physical altercation. And in that situation, sometimes that sort of thing is better than punches being thrown.
Yep.
Others have said Punk went fists flying
Yep.
into an altercation, and Miro was saying nothing happened at all, but they have both been suspended pending further investigation, which is really causing a problem with the next pay-per-view event because it's supposed to be in Punk's hometown.
Yeah. Which is another issue because I don't know why if that was going to happen. Obviously, he at the moment, blah blah blah. But CM Punk defeated Samoa Joe to keep the real world championship.
Real World Championship.
Yeah. Granted, I think CM Punk was the right winner in this match. But now what? Because there's no way they're
I
doing an
had a feeling
investigation a
that
week.
they were. I had a feeling that this Real World Championship was going to eventually become a feud between him and MJF, which, if you remember, MJF Punk was quite a good feud.
Yep.
Back in the day, because they can both talk at each other. They can both really talk at each other,
Yep.
and they've really put the thing behind the Real World Championship.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good looking belt.
It's a good looking belt. It's very Hogan-esque though. He's done the old He's kind of done an
Straight from
NWA
yes.
thing. On the match itself, it was a barnstormer, to quote Jim Ross. I actually really loved the match. I cannot get enough of Samoa Joe's no-sell thing. I find it absolutely hilarious.
You know what? There was so many good spots in this match. There was the whole Punk going and making Samoa Joe trying to walk away from the first dive of the apron, which Punk knew was going to happen, and then immediately they went into a spot where he went to outside and Joe walked off. Then, like that little
Yeah,
spot there was good when he sort of like had him in the powerbomb position and swung him into the announce table, and you just see his head go through the bottom of the announce table.
I love that. I
That was
love that.
so
But
good.
what did AEW have under the ring, under the announce table? A spike,
Yeah,
because of all of a sudden he's bleeding out the top of his head.
right.
I will say it looked like Samoa Joe was having the time of his life out there. I've
Yeah,
rarely seen him look so happy in wrestling matches.
he certainly played up to the English swearing and stereotypes.
I don't know if they're very good friends behind the scene, Joe and Punk, but they do work well together, and they've got
Yeah,
a good history of working well together.
yeah, yeah,
Their Ring of Honor matches were really, really top notch. If anyone has a chance, the ability to watch their feud in Ring of Honor, I believe Tony bought all the tapes, so it should be somewhere. It was really worth it,
yeah.
and I love the fact he used the Pepsi plunge on him as well.
hmm
I think it's a better move than the go to sleep.
You know, we even had the like John Cena, Hulk Hogan.
I forgot. Oh, I had this written down in my notes. He did 4 of the 5 moves of Doom, and then
Yep,
the Hogan leg drop for Joe to kick out after 1.
and then
It's
Joe,
brilliant.
and then Joe hulked up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they honestly, it was a great opening match. It was so good.
Talking about that, something's going on with AEW and Terry Bellola, because in the post match scrum, MJF said a few words about him as well.
Yeah, I saw taking the piss out of him for
Hogan has been recently claiming that in the 80s he was in Japan and the States at the same day or something.
hmm Hulk Hogan is also the same guy who says he had a 380-day year at one point because of flying to and from Japan.
And my favourite quote ever was 90,000 people in the Silver Dome.
Hulk Hogan is a rare breed.
He said it twice.
He's done all sorts. He had a interview recently where he takes credit for Kevin Owens' success, being like, "I knew he was the guy before he was the guy."
Really?
Like
He
claiming,
probably never even heard who Kevin Owens was.
like there was something else about him claiming that he met a dying kid on like a Wembley show day. I think it was for SummerSlam '92, where he wasn't even with the company. Just claiming he was at
No, he
SummerSlam.
wasn't.
Like, yeah, the guy's just insane. Uh, but yeah, we had
Well,
Punk beat Joe. It was a great match. Like probably one of the best matches on the show.
Uncle Dave gave it 4.5 stars.
Yeah, like it was only 14 minutes long, but it was amazing.
14.5 minutes long, Reese. But I think unless there's a story of it being a 60-minute Iron Man match or a half an hour match, I think the best wrestling matches are between 13 to 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, that time, because the wrestlers don't blow out,
Yep.
and it's enough time for the heel and the face to switch between each other in terms of who's winning the match. CM Punk, I will say, was raucously booed on the way down to the ring
Yeah.
during the match. But when he won, the British crowd exploded and was cheering him like anything.
Yeah. But then the British
He
audience will
also
cheer
hopped over
for.
the barricades. He hopped over the barricades and hugged a fan with a sign saying "Trans rights are human rights,"
Yep.
which got a lot of love.
I saw a tweet that said in the space of 20 minutes, CM Punk beat up a young boy, had a barn burner of a match, and promoted trans rights, all in a day's work. I was like, that's
Then
CM
got
Punk stardom.
suspended.
And then got suspended.
I
Yeah.
think on the terms of that, I think Jack Perry is not worth AEW what CM Punk is
No, not even
at all.
close. Not even close.
I don't know whether he's even very chummy with the EVPs. Do you know?
I have no idea. But
So, but anyway, moving on to the next match. I'll let you lead.
well, the next match was a very last minute thing in my opinion, but still a good match. You had Bullet Club Gold, so Juice Robinson and Jay White, versus Konosuke Takashika, if that's how you pronounce his name, versus the
That's
Golden
good.
Elite.
Good pronunciation.
Thanks. Against the Golden Elite of Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Hangman Adam Page. This match was
The
longer than the.
British crowd loved Kenny Omega.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely loved him.
Bullet Club Gold might be the greatest faction in AEW. And Juice Robinson is off his fucking nuts.
Yeah, I just don't really know what to say about this match. It was very last second, but
Yeah.
it was very well put together. You had really good professionals in there. And what's all the Don Callis hate at the moment, by the way?
I think people don't really like Don Callis in general. But he's always played
Because
that
even
like
Tony Khan was saying in the post-match scrum, he was like, talking of people I don't like, hi Don. Like he really meant it.
I think because Don has just been a heel his entire career. Like in ECW, he was a heel. Against the Jackal, he was a heel. Like in TNA, he was a heel. In New Japan and AEW, he's a heel. So yeah, I just assume he's one of those people that's just been a life on the hill. So he sort of lives that gimmick, a bit like MJF in a way.
Yeah, just not as young and attractive.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, this match was great. Like, it was fast paced. It had a bunch of stars in it. I think they had the right people go over in Bullet Club Gold and Konosuke. Like, they're Omega, Ibushi, and Hangman don't need to win these type of matches. Whereas I think the group of Bullet Club Gold needed this win.
Omega's I think Omega's in the Cena-esque part of his career now,
Yeah,
where he, you know, quite rightly should be used as a put-overer. I'm not saying lose every week, but he's done it all. He's done it all everywhere that he's wanted to be,
yep.
and he doesn't have anything left to prove.
I see him more in that sort of Seth Rollins role where you can have him lead the company, but you can also have him take 3, 4 losses like Rollins did to Edge to build up someone else. But then you put him in a match with Maxwell Jacob Friedman and Omega might win. It's not
Yeah.
unrealistic. Um, so yeah,
No,
they
I
didn't
see
need
what you're
to
saying.
like they didn't need to spin. Bullet Club Gold did, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
Now, I text you this during the event, but this was the match where I started to notice things. There was a lot of people slipping off the ropes trying to go up to the turnbuckle and stuff. Did you notice that?
I did. So I did. After you said that, it is something I noticed. Was it a little bit wet, or were they using different ropes? Have you heard anything about it?
I haven't heard anything about it. I don't think many people have noticed it, but it was pretty noticeable. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 people; it was quite a few. So
How did they? I can't remember off the top of my head. Because AEW set up there. Do AEW use the same ropes as WWE? Because I know WCW and WWE had totally different ropes.
I think they're different because I think they're similar to TNA's ropes. And AJ has a story when he was debuting in the Rumble. He got into the ring to test out the ropes to do his forearm, and they were so much sturdier that he had to like actually jump off the ropes. Whereas in TNA, apparently you could just land on the ropes and you'd spring.
Springboard, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Know when WWE and WCW merged, the takeover, the WWE actually binned all of WCW's rings and all of their ropes because it didn't suit their wrestling.
yeah.
Because one of them uses wires and one of them uses actual ropes, apparently.
Yeah, and isn't WWE like known for having a harder ring and tighter ropes or something?
Yes.
Because
No, no. I remember. Was it Angle and Sting both complained about the six-sided ring when it came to the ropes because
okay,
it was really difficult because there was no give on the six-sided ring.
right, got you. Well, I
Anyway,
mean,
we're not going to spend 45
no,
minutes talking about ring ropes because everybody will switch off.
that's next week's podcast.
Yeah, the history of ring ropes.
Right, we had FTR defeated the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Now, this might have been my match of the night between this and the main event, but I thought this was an insanely good match, and I love the fact that the British audience were chanting "Wheeler's got a gun" for
Yeah.
the first 50% of the match. Like,
You can't beat the British. I don't think, I think it's commonly known. Everybody but Bailey loves the British audience in the
yep,
whole world.
yep,
Um, I just think it. Also, how long have the Young Bucks had this ring entrance for? This theme?
A long time.
Okay, I don't know.
Think.
I must have spaced out because I'm more used to their old, be elite. That one.
Oh yeah, that's a good point actually. To be
Because it
honest,
was completely different. I'm not the biggest fan of the Young Bucks. I don't particularly enjoy their style of wrestling. My biggest problems with them is their dabbling in backstage politics.
yeah,
They shouldn't really be executive vice presidents of the second largest wrestling company in the world. That being said, you're right, and FTR and the Young Bucks are perfect together. They complement each other.
yeah,
I think FTR, as Jim Ross said, he said they remind him of the Midnight Express.
yep.
They are, in my opinion, far better wrestlers than the Elite in terms of ground mat work.
hmm Oh yeah, by far.
And I like the fact that CM Punk has a couple of friends, maybe a few, in AEW because apparently they're quite close.
For now,
For now.
till he gets them banned from
But you're
Collision
right,
as
it
well.
was. I'm not going to say this was my match of the night, purely for preferences that I have for two more matches, but that's because I prefer the wrestlers in it.
Yeah,
But it was the best match I've seen the Elite in, personally.
yeah. This was a killer
And
match. Killer match.
the fact that the Elite didn't win was quite of a difference for me.
You know what? I fully expected the Young Bucks to win because of the arrest of Cash Wheeler. So the fact that they lost, that also surprised me because I thought they were gonna have FTR lose the titles and then sort of take them off TV for like a little bit to let the storm die down. Of Wheeler's got a gun, but no. So number
From
one,
what I've heard, he's not actually been charged with anything, has he? He got arrested, but not charged.
yeah. So all it tells me is that obviously it's not as bad as it seemed, and that these guys are amazing. These are, in my opinion, this is WWE's Uso versus New Day feud.
Wasn't
Like,
FTR in WWE at one point?
yes, where they started. They were in NXT and they came up to the main roster.
They really dropped the ball on those two, didn't they?
Yep, they wanted to. At one point, I believe Vince wanted FTR to dress up in like leprechaun costumes, like Finley, and that was going to be their gimmick.
I'm not sure what Vince McMahon's on, but I'd rather be on what Tony's on.
I mean, this is the same guy that apparently wanted Adam Cole to be Keith Lee's manager instead of a wrestler. And
I like Keith Lee. I thought Keith Lee was good in NXT, but that would have been an insult to Adam Cole, who, when he's fit, and if he can stay fit, he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet.
yeah, he's probably my personal favorite wrestler on the planet at the moment, Adam Cole, which we'll touch upon a bit later. But this
Yeah,
match was just 20 minutes of greatness, and the false finishes for like the last 5 minutes were incredible. Like every single one had me thought that that was going to be the end of the match.
it was a little bit hot in mouth when
Yeah,
I was watching it. It was a bit of like, oh no, the Young Bucks are going to win. The heart drops. No, they haven't won. The heart goes back up.
yeah.
It was well done. The crowd seemed to like it. Who, in your opinion, was the crowd actually behind?
Oh, it seemed pretty split. Before the match, you had the dueling FTR Young Bucks chants, and then by the end of the match, it seemed like people were just cheering the match.
Almost a
Like,
bit like the Fight Forever.
yeah, I think at some point when a match is so good, you do just forget about who you want to win, and the match is just amazing. So, yeah, this was an amazing match. I think this probably isn't my favorite match. I think this is just beaten by the main event for me.
Okay.
But on any given day, this probably could have been my match of the night.
I kind of agree with you. I do have a problem with the Young Bucks. I'm a self-respecting member of the cult of Cornette, so I could never admit that I like the Young Bucks.
Yep.
That's just me. So after the Young Bucks, I believe it was Orange Cassidy, was it?
Yes, Stadium Stampede.
Stadium Stampede. Orange Cassidy had Eddie Edwards in not Eddie Edwards. Oh God, I'm getting the names mixed up. I'm tired. So yeah, the Stadium Stampede, Eddie. I thought it was a really good match. I think that it was kind of put in there to make up the time a little bit.
Yeah.
But I like what they're doing with Orange Cassidy. I
Yes.
really like what they're doing with him. They're really. I think he's a world champion in waiting with them.
Yeah. I agree.
The International Championship is their version of the Intercontinental title, I believe. You can get confused with
Yeah.
AEW titles because there's quite a few of them. It used to be the North American title. It used to be the US title.
Used to be the All Atlantic.
All Atlantic, the Mickey Mouse title.
Right.
He's defended it more than anyone else. I think he's got more title defenses than anyone else in AEW's ever had.
It's like 30 at the moment, and still counting.
And this match with Moxley, of course, because Moxley was in it, by halfway through the match, there's 7 points of blood on the ring.
And it wasn't just Moxley.
No,
Like,
it was flipping Eddie Kingston.
Kingston,
There
Trent
we go.
Barretta was bleeding, Orange Cassidy was pouring with blood, Wheeler Yuta was bleeding.
They tried to zest him with a bloody screwdriver, didn't they, or something?
Yeah, like, you know
And I'm
me.
seeing that one of the, I can't remember which wrestler it was, but one of them, their flipping head had a massive toothpicks or something sticking
That
out
was
of it
Moxley.
at one point.
That was Moxley. Honestly, I don't like these kind of matches. I've not enjoyed any of the other Stadium Stampede matches. Something about this one was just incredible. This was sort of a good amount of carnage to have after a longer traditional wrestling match.
It was fun. It was it was like just chaos. I do remember you messaging me going, "Oh, they've thrown in a Stampede match. They're panicking."
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
But it's good because the whole thing is setting up the Orange Cassidy's next title defense, because Orange Cassidy will now be wrestling Mox, I believe, at all in if he can defend it. All out if he can defend it on Collision. Is that right?
I think so.
I think they may take the title off him and give it to Mox.
So do I. And I think that's okay if Orange Cassidy gets pushed more towards the main event world title.
When I first saw Orange Cassidy, when I first saw him on AEW, I thought, what the hell is this?
Yep.
I was like, sunglasses, pockets, but it's grown on me. It's really grown on me. And I think, he's not young either. He's late 30s, but, he was a really good wrestler before this, but he's really grown into the AEW style wrestling. And the fact that he can dive around the ring with his hands in the pocket, I can never get over that.
I will go on a whim here. I think Orange Cassidy is probably up there with the caliber of wrestler of a CM Punk, of a Samoa Joe, of a Kenny Omega. Because for anyone,
I haven't heard anything bad about him coming from backstage.
yeah, because anyone that can get a gimmick over where you have your hands in your pockets, wear sunglasses, and are lazy, and it is what should be a comedy act. But to take a comedy act and then mid-match be able to flip into a serious like thing, I think takes a lot of skill.
Even in the post scrum, he kept in character. He's one of the only wrestlers that I know that keeps in character constantly.
Yeah.
He's constantly that character. He almost broke during the scrum, though. He almost broke, but he didn't. I think my favourite ever Orange Cassidy moment is the skit they had with Jericho and Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
They were asking them questions. And it's the first time he ever spoke or something, wasn't it? And he managed to answer some ridiculous geological question.
Yeah.
Jericho was just going nuts.
The Great Debate or whatever it was.
Yeah. It was a good filler match. Again, I don't know what it is with John Moxley and Blood, but he's become the Ric Flair of the 2020s.
Yep.
It's every single match now, and I can't believe and understand why they're allowing this to be every single match, because he's blading himself and it's not even that well hidden half of the time.
Yeah.
If he keeps at it, he'll look like Abdullah the Butcher eventually with his head, won't he?
Yeah, like in this match, I think blood is needed. I think in a big marquee match, blood is needed. A random dynamite match, you don't need to cut your head open. Like it's not
No.
necessary.
I think wasn't the joke with Ric Flair was if you you just blew him over, he'd hit the mat and he'd be covered in blood within 30 seconds.
Yep. We had Penta get carried to the back at one point early into the match after a pile driver.
Yes.
Came back out in a change of costume a bit randomly. Now I don't think that was planned. I think he probably did get a stinger or something.
Probably shat himself when he got stingered.
Yeah, like I don't
It's
think
not a
that.
joke. It's happened to wrestlers, and some of them have publicly admitted it.
Yeah. I saw an interview with MJF who says he shat himself in a match at one point.
Who
So
else was it that I heard? Mick Foley says it's happened to him.
yep, happened to Cena.
Yeah, it's happened to Batista.
Yep.
Oh, who was it? Hang on. Oh God, there was one I listened to, and it was a really interesting story. It may have been the Big Show. It was the Big Show. I know they had the skit with him and the diarrhea, but I think it's because of that incident they had that thing with him and Eddie.
Yes, was it not at a house show where he had to like run to the back and like crap his guts out or something?
Yeah, and come back out and he couldn't.
Yeah.
Got a feel for those wrestlers. If you're in an Iron Man match or a 30-minute match, you know it's not easy to hold it if you're being chucked around the ring.
Definitely not. The only drawback of
But,
this match I had was this match was built up as Eddie Kingston against Claudio Castagnoli and his best friend John Moxley being in the middle. And Eddie Kingston didn't really feature in this match.
No, he did the. You know, when they did the intros, he kind of just ran straight down and started it, didn't he?
Yeah, he started the match, and then him and Claudio brawled for ages, and then he sort of gets, I'm assuming like off camera, beat up and laid out at the back, and then he's just sort of gone for like 10 minutes, and then he comes back at the end.
I can't see legitimately in any sport how someone like Eddie Kingston would have a chance against somebody against Claudio Castanera.
Yeah.
He has been noted by a lot of professionals in both companies as being one of, if not the strongest wrestlers in terms of physical power.
Yep.
Anyone that can do that whole turdy spinny thing on a Big Show, on the Great Khali.
I mean, Sami Zayn tells the story. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the DDT in NXT between Sami and Claudio. And Sami misses it and almost like gets just dropped on his neck. And Claudio somehow like catches him almost on the ground, manages to like deadlift this human being up above his head, and then throw him up in the air. Like,
wow. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right with the actual match. He kind of disappeared. He does seem to be the sort of wrestler that blows out quite quickly.
Yeah, the problem is he's so good. So good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing that didn't hit the mark for me because you could have had him sort of like getting beat up at ringside, and at least he would have still been in the match per se. But to have him sort of lay that out back was a bit weird.
Strange.
Yeah. But the finish was great, reminiscent of Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme with the broken glass. Like,
Us again.
what's not to love? Next up, the sour point.
Next up, after a quick ring change.
Yeah, because the blood everywhere. We had the ladies. We had Saraya versus Toni Storm versus Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker. This match.
How pretty is Britt Baker?
Yeah, and Toni Storm looks incredible. She's doing the Marilyn Monroe gimmick, and it.
Oh yeah, she came out to "God Save the King" as well.
Yeah,
basically,
like, she is killing it at the moment. Absolutely killing it.
I don't think they should have taken the belt off her in the first place.
Nope, I agree. Saraya won. Now,
nice touch, bringing her whole family out for her. It's a nice touch for her as a person from where she's come from. She, if I can just say, like, she was more hurt, I think, than Edge was in terms of.
Yeah, This is going to be my
because
point.
what, ironically, Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, who was in the crowd, did to her neck the second time. She's lucky she didn't die.
Yeah. Nice touch, like you said, in front of the home crowd. Awesome moment.
Although I would say her reaction from the home crowd wasn't peak amazing.
No, it wasn't. I think they probably would have seen Britt Baker win. Which, yeah, because my issue is, not only has Saraya not wrestled a lot in AEW since debuting,
4 matches, Rhys.
yeah, bad matches.
4 single matches. 2 of them were horrendous.
Take all that away, watching her wrestle makes me feel a bit uncomfortable
Because of her injuries.
because all Sasha Banks did was kick her in the back, and the
Yeah.
whiplash is what messed her neck up.
That was her second. That was a re-injury, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm worried that she's going to take a suplex, and that's going to be it. She's not going to be able to walk. So that does make me a little worried. Like,
Well, apparently the best doctors in the world, which I believe Tony can afford,
yep.
have told her at the moment her because it was asked in the post-match conference. It was asked, and apparently her neck is normal at the moment. There's no problems, but they are keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
It was brought up that WWE actually refused to get her reassessed because they were so worried about it.
Didn't they do the same to Daniel Bryan? They refused to get him reassessed at one point, so
Yeah,
he had to start
they
paying for himself.
wouldn't. The one with Daniel Bryan, it's been gone on public knowledge that he was cleared by his doctors, but WWE said no still. I think with WWE, they're a lot more worried about injuries. Everybody should be worried about injuries, but with their history of injuries, they need to probably be a lot more careful.
No, I
to an
agree.
extent. I don't believe AEW and Tony Khan would have put Saraya in the ring if there was any doubt.
No, me neither. It's just as a viewer, it
You're
does still make
right.
me
You're
uncomfortable.
right. All Mercedes Moné did was kick her in the back. It wasn't a dangerous maneuver.
No.
She kicked her in the back and she just went down like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
Just went. I remember watching it.
This match was the second shortest match of the night. It was the shortest match on the main card.
8 minutes 50, typical women match.
Yeah. For being 9 minutes long, I thought they fucking killed it. It was never gonna be in a 9 minute match is never gonna be an amazing match, but they fit a lot of story into such a short amount of time, and I really
Yeah,
feel
the
like
group exploded, didn't it? Yeah.
yeah, I really feel like if you would have taken like 5 minutes off of the Bullet Club Gold and the Golden
It
Elite
wouldn't have
match
hurt.
and put it to these guys, they probably would have had a 4-star match because the story was all there.
I don't think Sierra will hold the title for long, if I'm honest with you.
No, me neither. Me neither.
I don't think they will. On a slightly unrelated subject, I actually think the women's title is ugly in AEW. The actual belt is really ugly.
Yep.
It's not as bad as the original one, but it's still not a great title.
You know what? It's a shame because when you think about it, I don't think there's been a women's championship that actually looks nice. Like the Divas Championship with the butterflies was fucking disgusting.
That was a Vicky Guerrero invention.
The original Knockouts title in Impact was not pretty.
No, and they kept it for far too long,
Yeah.
and it got filthy.
Yep. The NXT women's title actually.
I remember that because of the white strap. They didn't change. I think they only had one copy at that time.
The NXT women's title actually, I'll take my statement back, was actually really nice.
Which one? The one Paige destroyed or the other one?
No, the one Paige, she didn't really destroy it.
No, it was Brad Maddox that destroyed it.
Yeah, the one that Brad Maddox turned into a Krispy Kreme.
I'm actually just reading online now that Tony Khan has had to come out and respond to the criticism of AEW only having one women's match.
I'm shocked.
I'm just looking at the belt now. It looks like I have to be honest with you, AEW's titles are very WCW-esque.
Yeah.
Yes, they're pretty much a continuation of WCW, let's be honest.
Yeah, effectively.
I think Sierra was the poorest wrestler in this match in terms of skill.
Yeah, by far.
I can't pronounce the Japanese lady's name very well, but I think she is far too good a wrestler to be made a what do they call it? A temp champion, if you follow me,
Yeah,
a holdover champion.
Hikaru Shida.
It's just she she was a pandemic champion, wasn't she? She won it in front of a zero audience crowd.
Yep, and I think they were some of the best women's matches of AEW in its career. I'm a big Hikaru Shida fan. I think she's amazing, and she deserves a
She held
proper
it.
run.
She held it for 372 days.
Yep.
Lost it to Britt Baker.
It's a shame because do you know what was missing from this show?
What's that?
TBS women's title, which you could have had a second women's title on this match.
Oh, you could have, yeah. You could have. I don't know why it was. It's a bit like the international championship. It wasn't defended when it could have been.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know whether the TBS champion was not defended because they couldn't get the women over or something. But
Well, they were both in the UK because Ruby Soho, who's challenging it for it All Out, ran out during this match.
actually, Rhys, I'm going to take back my statement earlier. The original women's championship in AEW is far, far prettier than the current one.
Ah.
And it looks great on Britt Baker, who I have a slight thing for, guys.
I mean, Britt Baker's amazing. Amazing.
I know, but she's with Adam Cole, and there's no way that, I'm knowing. It's just,
Man, you know what? Adam Cole is a handsome motherfucker.
he is. They would make nice-looking children.
He really would.
Weird thing.
Like, no, this isn't even two guys lusting over a woman. Like, Adam Cole is a sexy bastard.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know how he does it. Like,
Steroids?
no, not with his physique.
No. Oh, do you know who I miss?
Who?
They could have had. They should have had Jamie Hayter on the show.
She's injured still.
She injured still. Oh, they could have had her out there though, in a. But
because Pac,
who knows?
He's also injured, and he should have been on the show.
Oh, they would have loved Pac. Pac would have got such a raucous response from the crowd.
Yep.
Pac has had an interesting wrestling career. He's not very friendly with WWE, is he?
No. Now, there's one thing I want to talk to you. It's a bit of a side note from this women's match, but it is about the women's division of AEW.
Yep, it's just shambles.
Yes, but let's say we're in the 90s.
Yep.
And Goldberg is winning 300 matches. And then he loses his first match, and then he disappears for months. Makes no sense, right?
It makes no sense how he lost it either.
No. Why has Jade Cargill went on a tear with the title, won like 250 odd matches, and now she's disappeared for like 6 months? All that time put into the women's division, and she has not been around.
I can't answer. I mean, I don't know what's going on with her behind the scenes. There could be a problem with her contract. There could be.
I feel like maybe that's one of the reasons the women's division feels so empty is because they put so much time and effort into this woman, and she's just evaporated.
I think there's too many wrestlers in AEW to an extent, and Tony Khan is only one person, and he's booking everything. He can't utilize his wrestlers properly.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I said to you earlier, I genuinely think Ring of Honor should be spun off. Yes, Tony Khan should own it, but it should be a separate show with a separate roster, where these guys can use it as a proper OVW, if you understand what I mean. Use it as a proper Florida Championship Wrestling, so people can actually get on TV and be noticed.
Yep, I agree.
But you're right. Are they? Do you know of any plans for them to do that? Because they're just they're not. They have the titles, but they don't really do anything else with it.
No. I think AEW's roster would be fine if they had a hard brand split, and you had Dynamite was a bunch of wrestlers and Collision was a bunch of wrestlers.
I think they may be going that route. I think they may have to go that route with CM Punk if they keep him.
CM Punk
should may have to separate pay-per-views on the other side of the country.
CM Punk's Collision show will just be CM Punk versus Ace Steel.
Everyone.
Like, that's all it'll be. That'll be the only match. 60-minute Iron Man matches every week.
Actually, Adam Cole's actually come out in the last 24 hours publicly and said CM Punk has been nothing but kind and genuine to him.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. There
Now,
was a
that's Adam Cole, who's possibly the nicest person in the locker
right.
room,
Has never said a bad thing about
but
anyone.
doesn't seem, back on the CM Punk thing, it doesn't seem to be as bad as the last time. It's not
Yeah,
being reacted to as badly as the last time. The last time it was because somebody's dog got kicked, somebody's wife got bit. It was the trios champion, the world champion, the EVPs.
yeah. Well, apparently
Flipping,
backstage, everyone was really, really angry about this. And the report that I saw said that it fired up a lot of the roster to come out and make sure that their matches were so good that people were talking about the event and not the fight.
I'm not sure if you heard, but MJF actually had a whole paragraph to say about it at the end of the thing, about how AEW is not perfect, but
Yes.
we all love what we're doing, and we might not all get along, but we love wrestling.
Yep.
It cannot distract from how good a show this was. He didn't mention any names, but he did a champions kind of statement on it.
Yeah. No, I saw that and perfect answer.
Yeah. So should we move on to the next match?
Yes, we had Darby Allin and Sting defeat
Stay!
defeated Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage. And
How good is Nigel McGuinness?
honestly, how good is everyone in this match? Nigel McGuinness was on fire. Sting is 64 years old and putting on
Honestly, I struggle to get up in the morning. How the
right.
fuck is Sting doing this?
Darby Allin is just he's so good. Christian
I
Cage
would
is
say Christian Cage for the fact that he got thrown into this match with what 24 hours notice.
right, and Shane Swerve Strickland I think has the potential to be a main event world champion. I think Swerve is
Didn't like the
amazing.
rapping. I didn't like the rapping.
No, the rapping made no sense. But this match was insane. Like I thought this match was going to be a little bit, oh, it's a coffin match, but Sting and Christian are sort of gonna have a wrestling match. Darby will do all the crazy stuff, and
I
Swerve will
think
just
Darby Allin looks fantastic. I think
yeah,
Darby Allin, what Punk said about him a year and a half ago is correct. Darby Allin is a future of the business.
yeah,
He's got the look. He looks so comfortable in the ring.
yeah.
I think Sting. He'd do it for anybody, but Sting has done so good for him. Because
Honestly,
Sting's concentrated on him, and honestly, they may be. I mean, how old is Darby Allin? He
early 20s.
is 30.
Is he 30?
So
Damn.
30, that's 20 years more of wrestling if he stays fit. I think Darby Allin, they may be trying to Sting-esque him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think the pairing of Darby Allin and Sting is just it's perfect because Darby Allin can do a lot of the heavy lifting. He can do all the bumping. Sting has that drawing power. 'Cause it doesn't matter what you do with Sting, people will watch anything with him on. I love the Jack the Ripper sort of like early like London like vignette they did where they were just walking around. He's like it's showtime as he's like Jack the Ripper. That was so good. Like
I also think the TNT champion Christian Cage looks amazing still, in his late 40s.
yeah,
Him and Sting wrestled together almost 20 years ago in TNA NWA TNA as it was at the time. They are. I mean, Christian's amazing, but Sting is just put. I don't even think Flair was putting on performances like this in his mid 60s.
no,
Not quite like this.
no. Uh,
Um,
I could just talk and talk and talk about how good Sting is like
I think
all night.
Sting's also, as I say, genuinely think Sting's best work was in TNA.
I will say TNA or early WCW.
I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of Joker Sting. A lot of people aren't, but I thought it was hilarious.
And they're slowly bringing that back in.
Joker Sting, was it Joker Sting versus Jeff Jarrett, wasn't it, and all that sort of stuff, and Hogan.
Yeah,
And do you know what? Do you know what, mate? Honestly, I do have a small pit of dread in my stomach that at some point in the next year or so, Hollywood Hulk Hogan's going to debut for AEW.
I would rather.
Because he killed TNA. But no, back to the match. It was good. I did find it weird that they only had one coffin out there. I thought the idea,
Yeah.
put both people through the coffin. The whole thing with Sting getting saved with the baseball bat in the coffin, brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant. The match ending with a coffin drop on a coffin.
When he's sandwiched between the lid and the thing, like I bet that
Yeah.
shit was so painful.
Good. You're never going to get a bad match, really, with veterans like Christian and Sting, and with people like Darby Allin. I don't know much about Swerve Strickland. I don't know much about him, if I'm honest. But he looks impressive.
So my introduction
to
do nothing
but it will do nothing to help. It will do nothing but help him wrestling with people like that.
Yeah, my introduction to Swerve was in Lucha Underground. He was a wrestler called.
I've never watched Lucha Underground, but you keep telling me to.
You know what? We'll find some episodes and we'll do a watch along because it's.
Is Lucha Underground where you had the 12th incarnation of Johnny something champion?
Yep, and it had Ricochet before he was in WWE. It had Phoenix and Pentagon before they were like huge in the.
Wasn't Cody Rhodes there for a while?
No.
Was it John? Not Drew McIntyre. Did he go there?
No, Jake Hager went there for a cup of coffee. But you have things like Vampiro versus Pentagon in like a death match, which are awesome. Like, yeah, we'll have to watch it. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
Well, next up, the Pride of the UK, Will Ospreay, defeated Chris Jericho. Let's get.
We need to talk about it.
Let's get the elephant out of the room.
He tried to do a Freddie Mercury.
Yep.
Didn't go down very well, if I'm honest with the crowd.
It was pretty shit.
I know Fozzy in a studio with all the tech. It doesn't sound too bad, but that was not great. And I commented on you saying, "Where is John Laurinaitis and the mic cut?"
Like you could hear him walking to the ring singing, and he was
out of breath.
Yeah. This match was really good, but it didn't quite click with me.
I remember saying to you, and I think it was brought up online a few times, why are they putting Ospreay versus Jericho?
Yeah.
Jericho is in his mid-50s. He's really at the end of his career, and Ospreay could put on a 6-7 star match, melts the scale with the right person.
Yeah, the match was really good, and a lot of people are saying it's their favourite match of the night. But I don't know, something about it just didn't quite hit the spot with me.
I don't know why they did it. It was unnecessary, and I do seem to remember reading online that everybody was like, they're going to put him with Ospreay, and loads of people were like, well, no, they shouldn't do that. It's a shame that he couldn't actually defend the title.
Yeah.
On the event. Hasn't Jericho held that title before? No, he had the other one. He had the Intercontinental one, didn't he?
Yeah, before he got unified. This one has been held by Moxley, Ospreay.
Who's the one that was in TNA who did the woo off with Ric Flair? Jay Lethal.
Yep.
I think he had it.
No. This is a newer title. So this is the title that people like Lance Archer, Jon Moxley, and Will Ospreay have held.
What am I thinking of? Am I thinking of the old one, aren't I?
You might be thinking, I think it's the Never Openweight.
I know Jay Lethal went to Japan and won a few things. He was quite big over there.
Jay Lethal, I know for sure, defended his ROH World title in New Japan a lot.
Didn't Shelton Benjamin win something in Japan as well? Anyway, we're digressing.
Yeah, not in New Japan, but he was in Preston Noah, I think.
Oh, MVP. He won something in Japan.
He was the first ever IWGP World Champion. Their main title.
Yes,
he was the first person to ever win it.
I remember MVP's got a criminal record, and WWE couldn't get him into Japan when they were touring there.
Yep.
But they managed to do it in the end. Well, of course, I mean, I'm sure New Japan have kind of Vince McMahon style hooks in government over there, but yeah, it was a good match. It was an unnecessary match that had no build up and no storytelling really to it.
Yeah, I
really,
mean,
if you think about it.
I think Osprey definitely should have been on the card for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Jericho was the right opponent. I would rather have seen Osprey versus Christian or Osprey versus Swerve, something like that.
Maybe even Osprey versus Sammy Guerrero.
Yeah, yeah,
He looked great though, Osprey. He looked great.
yep.
Proud. The problem with Osprey, I think the British wrestling crowd are only starting to know who he is over the last couple of years. He's
Yeah,
he's not he's not known to the average fan that well, and
I
that's
think
what AEW doing that for him is good.
I think the problem is when we talk about average fans, a lot of average fans only know WWE, like they live in that WWE bubble.
I don't
Um,
even the WWE bubble.
yeah, but there's so much wrestling outside of WWE. Like this event was better than any show WWE filmed this year, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Sorry, I was just looking up Lucha Underground, and Joey Ryan was there, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah, we don't talk about Joey Ryan.
We'll cut that bit out.
Yeah, he's been blacklisted from the company.
Been blacklisted from McDonald's. Didn't they sack him from Disneyland and everything? He couldn't.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think AEW is now starting to shatter the international WWE bubble. Tony Khan has actually said himself that he said, you know, they're outdoing WWE in the UK on viewership at the moment.
It's a lot more accessible. It's on an ITV4 site, which for anyone listening in America is a pretty accessible. Like, you can get it on like Freeview TV over in this country, which I don't
It's
think is.
not. It's difficult to explain to an American how British TV works.
Yeah,
When I grew up, it was channel 1 to 4 or channel
yeah,
1 to 5, but it's not like that anymore. It's the third channel's extra channel, if that makes sense.
yeah. There's no
It's
like,
like
there's no premium package to watch AEW.
no, no, but it's the same with Impact to an extent, because Impact in its heyday was actually better viewership in the UK than WWE at one point.
Yeah,
Because WWE was on a cable network called Sky, run by Rupert Murdoch, who everyone's heard of. It was quite expensive back then. It was really expensive back then. Better now on BT Sport,
yeah.
but yeah, AEW, like its predecessor WCW, is on free to view TV in the UK.
Oh,
Remember
it's
watching WCW in the 90s? No, because you weren't born.
no. I watched it on TNT. Mum used to videotape it
When
when it was
I
on
was a kid,
NTL.
you used to have WCW on Channel 5. It used to come on they used to do an extended highlights. So the show was 2 hours. They used to do a 1 hour version of it.
Okay.
And on Saturday morning on Channel 4, they used to have WWF highlights as well.
Hmm. And what's really interesting about British TV and AEW is that you can. This was a pay-per-view,
Yeah.
but on Thursday, the 31st of August, so this coming Thursday, for anyone listening as this episode will go live, ITV are showing All In on
Free.
ITV4
Free.
for free.
We're already talking about how cheap AEW is comparatively to WWE. The fact is, I don't ever think I know of WWE doing that.
Nope,
Ever.
nope.
Never. Yeah. To talk to that, there was a discussion which Uncle Dave got involved in, because there apparently is a idea at Warner Discovery to make a WWE style network for AEW,
Yes, I've heard. And to be honest, sign me up.
because because it was a question that Tony, because they do a lot of pay-per-views,
Yeah.
AEW, a lot. They get good numbers on their pay-per-views, but realistically, their business model would be better on a premium live event style.
Oh yeah, 100%. And to be honest, yeah, if it's like $10 a month I'll pay for that in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Especially get the backlog.
Let's say they get 500,000 people sign up at $10 a month, and every month somebody spends that $10. That's more money than they'll make on pay-per-views.
Yeah, easily. And to be honest, with Endeavour taking over WWE, good chance my network will be getting cancelled because I ain't paying $80 for a pay-per-view and then the network on top.
Well, it's interesting what they've done with the WWE Network because it's not WWE Network anymore in Homeland, is it? It's Peacock. What is it in Canada?
In Canada, it is Sportsnet. You need to have a subscription to.
Is it the same price as it is here in the UK?
I have no idea. Let me find out. Sportsnet cost. I wouldn't know, to be honest.
Because the WWE Network,
$35 a month, according to this, what I'm reading here.
35, yeah?
$35
That
a
I
month.
can tell you that even with the crappy exchange rate, that's still more expensive.
Yep.
I don't think WWE Network has ever put up the price in the UK. It's always been £10 a month.
Yeah, pretty sure it's always been £10. I don't think I've ever paid more than that.
But as you're saying, I can't see it lasting another year.
No, me neither. Well, what won't be lasting another year is the Trios title reign.
Toenails.
I've already cut them.
What?
I'm just playing with the clippers.
Come on, Rhys.
I'm just playing with the clippers. It stops me fidgeting. I've been playing.
Well, I stopped fidgeting after I destroyed my Xbox controller. I think you heard it go flying off the sofa.
Yep.
Anyway, I'll stop. I'm trying to make this easier for you to edit, not harder.
That's right. I just ruined my segue. It's fine. Yeah, we had Billy Gunn and the Acclaim. They defeated the House of Black for the Trios title. Now,
what entrances? Both of them.
Yeah, nice little Wyatt tribute from the House of Black with the lantern. I thought that was really nice.
They've got a little bit, not quite the same, but they have a little bit of Wyatt family about them.
Yeah.
A little bit of the Eater of Weld style Wyatt family, not the Swamp style. The lantern. I thought the Acclaim's rap down to the ring was short, but could get them into trouble.
The Prince Andrew joke.
Hogwarts joke.
For anyone that doesn't know, go Google Prince Andrew, then that rap will make more sense.
I can just see Tony Khan with his head in his hands out back going, why have I let them back off script? Short match,
yep.
Really good match,
yep.
really happy with the result. Really surprised, actually, that the Acclaimed won.
Me too. I'm not sure what you do with them
Billy
now.
Gunn, Billy Gunn is 59 and he's going still quite well.
Yeah.
He's 5 years younger than Sting, but I still think there's some steroids going on there with Billy Gunn.
Probably.
Somehow.
What I really like is how AEW puts these veterans with the young guys. So Billy Gunn with the Acclaimed, Sting with Darby Allin, Christian with Luchasaurus.
Yes.
Build them up. I really like that. Yeah, I really like that. As opposed to Goldberg coming in and squashing the Fiend.
We'll talk a little bit more about Wyndham Rotunda later on or in our next podcast. But I will say on that, they absolutely destroyed the legitimacy of his character there.
Yep.
They ruined it, and I can imagine Ray actually the person being quite upset with that.
Oh, 100%.
As Jim Cornette said with Bray Wyatt, he didn't always agree with his character, but he could see the problem was the shoddy booking was the problem.
Yeah.
And he should have, God rest his soul, if he'd have lived longer, I think he would have ended up doing like a Rob Zombie thing where he'd gone into Hollywood and done that sort of style horror. They were trying. I think The Undertaker himself saw him as a little bit of a continuation of kind of that style character. But 36, that's my age, mate. That's not nice.
Yep. Complications from COVID, unfortunately. So
yeah,
make sure you're still being diligent, people.
Onto the match itself. I think Billy Gunn got the win from the top off the top of my head. It's been a while since I watched it. Yesterday, he got the pin.
What I can't remember. I know the last move was the elbow drop from Max Caster. It
What do you
was.
think of the trios championship? If I can ask you, do you like this idea?
I do. I really like this idea. I also really like down in Mexico. I think it's AAA have a mixed tag team championship. So I like the idea of having because it's something different, right? It's not just the same singles belts, but it does put you in a situation like, what does the House of Black do now?
I was just remembering the thing on a different event that Max Caster said to them. Why are you all known as the House of Black when you're all white?
Yeah,
Sorry. I can't see the House of Black lasting much longer, if I'm honest with you.
like I said, the problem with this title is it puts you into a situation like, where do you go with the House of Black now? Because they are a trio. Do you put them against FTR and have them like freebird it, or I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like,
possibly. Um, I think the trios belt would have really helped, like in the WWE in some ways, in like the New
yeah,
Day, in the Attitude Era with the new DX and that sort of thing.
with the 50
I'm
different
trying to look at this
factions.
up now because I'm sure either WCW or WWF or WWF had a trios championship at one point. This isn't the first time an American Productions had it.
Oh, interesting. I know Lucha Underground
I'm
had one.
pretty. Yeah, I was looking at Lucha Underground. It wrapped up, didn't it, after a couple of years, 3 seasons.
That is something we can talk about another date because there's a whole legal issue about that.
Yeah, they can't. I've just read that they can't carry on.
Not only that, they put everyone on like 10-year contracts, but then shut down production of the show. But everyone was still tied to these 10-year contracts that didn't allow them to work for anyone else that had a TV show.
Oh, wow.
So there's a whole class action lawsuit between the wrestlers and the company because they were
Just
like,
a quick question then on the trios. I'm listening. Sorry. Would you say the trios is less prestigious than the tag? Or would you say
yes,
it's equal?
it's definitely less prestigious.
So would you say it's because like the Acclaimed, the Elite, and the House of Black, I think they've all held the tag titles, haven't they?
Yes. Maybe the House
Death
of Black not.
Triangle as well. Okay, so I know the Elite and the Acclaimed.
I think that the trios title is less prestigious because us as a American, British, Canadian audience haven't seen it. Whereas
No,
if you go,
it's a new thing, isn't it?
yeah,
It's a
whereas if
new
you go
thing.
to Japan and Mexico, they are quite prestigious. They're as relevant as a tag team title.
Fair enough. I think we should move on to the next match before this episode lasts 4 hours.
Well, the last match was my match of the night. It was phenomenal.
Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah, MJF versus Adam Cole. Now, both
Let me
these
stop
guys,
you. Let me stop you. Let me stop you. How fucking sorry YouTube good was MJF's entrance?
you know what? I wanted to bring this up to you as well because did you notice what happened during his entrance?
I was just I didn't notice anything special. No.
Okay, so he's sitting on that cart. He's got the women next to him praying. Some guy behind him pushing him. The guy's
Yeah.
pushing the cart, misses his cue, pushes the cart into the steps, and the steps wipe out one of the women on their knees. It just fucking wallops her.
I didn't notice that.
Yep. Just before he walks down the steps, and just before they get to the steps and he
Shit.
walks down, the guy pushing the cart crashes into the steps, and they fucking wipe this poor woman out.
I hope she's all right.
Like she gets a proper bump from it.
I can imagine they'll look after her if there's a problem.
Yeah. But I saw that I was like, that poor person.
Did you think the entrance was a subtle dig at a certain Hunter Helmsley? He
Yes.
did something similar-ish at a WrestleMania.
Yes, he did with the Crown and Thrones because that's where Sasha and Charlotte and Alexa were the what would you call them? Cortesses?
Yes, yes, yeah, I realised that. Talking about that, I forgot to tell you this. Did you notice right back at the start of the show that Simon Miller, Culture's Simon Miller, was in the ring?
I did during the oh, what was his name? Powerhouse Hobbs
I love
segment.
Simon. I love Simon Miller. I
Yeah.
love him.
He's the YouTuber I
Back to
subscribe to.
the match. 29 and a half minutes.
Yep.
Absolutely perfect main event match by two wrestlers in their prime who know how to wrestle each other
Yep.
perfectly.
Both of who can play an evil bastard heel and a loving babyface.
Though I think MJF is starting to turn face a little bit.
Yeah. And this match was perfect on so many levels. But during the entrances, it really dawned on me how big and how full that stadium was when Adam Cole did his
Yes.
Adam Cole Bebe, and the
Yeah.
Bebe like reverberated as the crowd said it, and you could hear like the different levels saying it one after the other.
Also, when he goes, oh, like that.
Yeah, like it was a shockwave. Um, yeah,
What did
this
you think of the actual quality of the wrestling, though?
I thought it was great. I thought the story of the match of Adam Cole will do anything to win, but he won't go too far to win. Like he would,
I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. You know
yeah,
the song.
yeah, it was that. Like he dropped him on the steps, he put him through the table, kind of. He did all this horrible stuff, but he wouldn't hit him with the object. He wouldn't like hit him with the belt. The 5 more
I also
minutes.
thought the Roderick the Strong with the "You're my best friend" that was perfect.
Yeah,
I'm your best friend. I'm your best friend. Hit him with the belt.
yeah. The Eddie
And
Guerrero,
MJF was like, "Just hit me with it. Just hit me with it."
the Ed,
Perfect.
the Eddie Guerrero chair spot, which we've seen that spot a lot. I don't think I've ever seen it done like that, where the guy is like, "Okay, I'll just put it around my neck, like he's gonna paralyze me."
Yeah.
Like that was just such great thinking. Like I can't rate this match high enough. I text you during the main event. You'll
Remember
be
you messaging me though during the match, going, "Uh oh."
Yeah, that's just what I was about to say to you. Like during the match when we had the draw from the double pin, and I was like, oh, and the crowd booed their arse off.
I mean, I don't know if I mean, as a viewer at home, that is such good storytelling. I can appreciate the crowd didn't understand what was really going on, but like even with Justin Roberts, he didn't want to announce it. The referee was insisting
Yeah.
it was a draw. Um, do you think Adam Cole is going to get that belt off MJF?
I hope so, as a Adam Cole fan, but I don't know because this whole match in my head before the event started, I had them losing the tag match and then, arguing. And then in the main event, one of them betrays the other.
I
This
think it's
entire,
coming all out.
I don't know. I don't know now. This entire event, I'm now like, I don't know what's going to happen in the story because I thought this was going to be the end of it. What?
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember you saying to me before the event, and I've saying to you as well, there were subtle hints at Adam Cole betraying him. He did the whole, when they were hugging, he did the whole
Yeah,
stab in the back thing.
yeah,
But I must just say, on the subject, how unbelievably far MJF has come in 2 years.
hmm
At the post-conference show, it was noted that I didn't realise this, that Tony Khan basically scouted MJF from English wrestling. He
yeah.
was
He had
wrestling in England in front of 200 people.
yeah before AEW,
Yes.
MJF was in a Combat Zone Wrestling.
And he got his break at the original All In.
Yeah,
He's got his break at the original All In. I remember I've not watched it fully, but I watched highlights of it. But he's so much better now, and I don't think I've ever known of a wrestler, maybe except for the fabled Dwayne Johnson, to have come so far so quickly
yeah, yeah,
and keep on a level. I mean, even before he was world champion, he was brilliant for a year.
yep,
Absolutely brilliant. Um, I think he's a better world champion at the moment than Reigns is in WWE.
yep. I agree.
Um, because I wouldn't have said that a year ago. A year ago, I wouldn't have said that. I think he's much fresher, and I think no kudos to Roman. I think MJF is much more capable of telling a story and much more capable of being a villainous heel perfectly. Roman could do the villainous heel. I think you strip away the bloodline from Roman, you take away the bloodline, he'll go back to suckering succotash Roman. I think he needs Paul Heyman, he needs the Usos, he needs Solo, he needed the Sammy. MJF, he don't care, he's just himself.
Yeah.
Don't care.
And I'm going to give some credit to Adam Cole here because
Yeah.
the biggest wrestling show of all time in AEW, and if I said to you, you're going to put 80,000 people in a wrestling ring, you've got the AEW roster, here's your options for your main event, who are you picking? And the options are CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, Sting, Will
Pushing
Ospreay,
Page.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hangman Page, Jericho.
Omega. Yeah, no, I know exactly. I don't mean to interrupt you, my friend. I know exactly what you're saying. I could see that Tony Khan in the post-match. Tony Khan has a lot of love for Adam Cole,
Yeah,
and he looks like he went out of his way to get him back into the ring.
yeah,
I didn't know much about Adam Cole's injury before this, and he was told he was never going to wrestle again.
yeah. He couldn't even go for a 5-minute car ride without having concussion symptoms.
Yeah,
Like,
WWE wouldn't touch him.
yeah.
Again, WWE wouldn't touch him, and I think he was the best thing in NXT, if I'm honest with you.
Oh, Black
The
and Gold.
Undisputed Era was it the Undisputed Era? I'm right. It
Yep.
was just fantastic.
Black and Gold era. You got the Gargano and Ciampa, but for me, Black and Gold era will always be the Undisputed era.
Was it Keith Lee that took the title off him before he
Yes,
got hurt?
yes.
What a match that was!
Because Keith Lee also is the one that pounced him into the crowd from the ramp, if you remember. Adam Cole's
Yes.
running down the ramp and he just wipes him out and throws him into the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever happened to Keith Lee? Fucking hell.
Yeah, he's being squandered at the moment.
Adam Cole, baby, better at playing a face or a tweener. I don't like him as a heel. I just don't think it suits him.
I think he's a good heel, but he needs a group to be a really, really good heel. He's a really good natural
too pretty
babyface.
to be a heel. He's
Yeah.
too good looking to be a heel.
Yeah, he's a natural babyface because he's just so charismatic and nice.
He's not a Vader style looking wrestler, is he? He's just
No, he isn't. And you know what? I really like the drama of this match because I like the F bombs that started getting dropped near the end of the match.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to be something you get in a WWE thing. But if you watch UFC,
not even in the States as often as it happens.
But like, if you watch like the UFC, or if you watch a boxing match, two people fighting are going to start dropping some F bombs. It's just natural, and I think that really worked in this environment. Like, I can't rate this match high enough. I thought it was just insane.
I think I would say, I have to be honest with you, when I was watching the post match, MJF looked a lot more tired than Adam Cole. Adam Cole looked like he could go for an hour.
Yes.
He seems to be in peak shape. I have to say, I think the right person, how much we love Adam Cole, the right person won because I think MJF is the right person to be champion at the moment.
No, I agree, but I would like to see Adam Cole get some sort of gold. I think
On that subject, carry on.
No, I think Adam Cole should be the one to dethrone Orange Cassidy. Because then Orange Cassidy can move up the ranking. Adam Cole can do an Orange Cassidy with that title and put on 30 instant classics with a bunch of wrestlers.
I have to be honest with you, I can't see anybody at the moment on the roster being as good as world champion as MJF. That complete package he's got, I don't think anyone's quite ready to step up to that level. You have got ex-world champions. The thing is, you ain't going to give it to Chris Jericho because that's just going to be... Chris Jericho was a brilliant person to be the first world champion. Yep. You ain't going to give it to Jericho. You ain't going to give it to Kenny again because there's the nepotism involved there, in my opinion.
Yep.
Moxley... no. That's all I can say.
Moxley doesn't need to be near it.
No. Punk... If Punk wasn't so controversial in the locker room, yes.
If Punk wasn't so
I don't think Tony Khan can give Punk the proper world title at the moment.
no,
He's given him his own one, hasn't he, to shut him up?
right.
Although I think it might head that way eventually. Because if you want two talkers who can go at it and drop immense promos and who can work in the ring, that could be a shout if he can stay clean for 6 months and not punch any kids in the back office.
The only person I think could, and at this moment in time should be MJF, would be Bryan Danielson.
Do you know what? I might slap myself, listeners. I forgot about Daniel Bryanson. That hurt with my dental issues. He is the best wrestler in the world
Yeah.
in terms of actual wrestling
I
ability.
think if they continue this MJF babyface thing, I think you could have Daniel Bryan come back from injury and do what he did to Okada and just break MJF and make him tap out. And I think that could be how you keep MJF as the super hot babyface, but then have this world champion that will just break people.
I do like the fact that they didn't throw the belt at Bryan Danielson straight away.
Yeah.
I do think it was good.
Yeah.
I don't even think they threw the belt at Punk straight away. I think they waited a good 6 months, didn't they, before doing it?
It was a while. You had the Eddie Kingston feud, you had the MJF feud, you had the Darby
You
Allin
had
feud.
he started with Darby Allin, didn't it, in a
Yeah.
friendly-ish style feud.
And then it was Kingston and then MJF, or MJF then Kingston. And then you went
Yeah,
on
his
to
one with Kingston looked like personal. I don't think putting Kingston in a room with Punk's a good idea.
no.
There was something about them on the indie scene, wasn't there? They knew each other or something.
Something like that.
So, I think Punk had something to do with him not getting on Greater Ring of Honor, apparently.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Bryan Danielson. I have to be honest, I don't think in entirety his AEW run's been great. There's been hugely standout moments. I don't think it's been amazing. It's not the American Dragon, in
No,
my opinion.
but it's also not WWE Uber babyface, which is what I like.
I personally think Daniel Bryan, and now we're talking about WWE, Daniel Bryan's best run with the title was Vegan Bryan, where he had the wooden title. It's
Yep.
just fucking amazing.
I
think it was brilliant. Didn't he have
He had Rowan with him.
Eric Rowan as his sidekick?
Yeah. Yep.
Was that after or before the spider? The cage.
That was before, because Eric Rowan got released before they let people know what was inside the cage.
Yeah, they just smashed it up in the end, didn't they? And
Yeah.
Yeah. I think again with Bryan Danielson, they're maybe a little bit worried about his health.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. He's the only one I can see taking the title off MJF. I'd love to see.
About Page, Hangman Adam Page.
I just don't see it.
I think that'd be too controversial in the locker room.
I'd happily have Adam Page as another world champion. I just don't see him beating MJF for it.
They gave him that belt, in my opinion, as a thank you.
Probably. He was a good world champion.
Good match, though.
Like he's a
match.
He's a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't see him being one to beat MJF. Like I'd like it to be Adam Cole. I don't think it will be. I think this feud ends with MJF as champion and Adam Cole.
I'd be happy with Adam Cole getting the international championship.
That's what I think they should do. They should put that on him and let Orange Cassidy move up to the main event soon.
On Adam Cole, actually, did he ever actually have a proper run on the main roster in WWF?
He never. Nope. His final match was in NXT. He never got called up.
I do seem to remember at the time there was a bit of a controversy because he was NXT champion for so long.
Yep.
Something was going on there. Either he didn't get on with Vince or H was insisting that he stayed down.
I believe the story is that Triple H wanted to stay because when Vince had plans to bring him up, it was to be Keith Lee's manager, not to be a wrestler, which says everything.
There was a time period, wasn't there, where 95% of Black and Gold calls up just floundered on the main roster. They didn't know what to do with them. Yeah, I'm trying to give you some examples now off the top of my head.
The revival.
All I can think about is the ones that went right.
I mean, Keith Lee went awful. They made him bare captain.
Actually, Bo Dallas wasn't great, was he?
Bo Dallas,
Um,
FTR, they flopped on the main roster.
oh, who was the other one? The Bull Ascension.
Yeah.
Ascension were really hyped in NXT and they
Yep.
disappeared.
Johnny Gargano.
Gallows and Anderson haven't been great, really, have they?
Johnny Gargano.
Johnny
Huge in
Gargano,
NXT.
yeah.
He's. I
Johnny
mean,
Gargano, if they pulled the trigger on him, with Johnny Gargano, time is running out really on his body and his age. But if they pulled the trigger on him, he'd be great.
Yeah, he could be a world champion.
Even looks like Triple H a little bit.
Yeah, minus the hair. But yeah, honestly, yeah, they flopped the NXT stuff. So I'm glad Adam Cole is in this doing wrestling in front of 80,000 people.
According to, I found out what's going on here. As we've been talking, someone's on a Wikipedia edit war because it keeps flipping between the two.
Love that.
My IP address has been blocked because. Do you know what? We're not going to talk about that on the podcast. You know why my IP's been blocked on Wikipedia?
I do indeed.